Happy birthday, Tasty. It's crazy that you're turning 5. It's been such an awesome and fun journey. I'm excited to see where this takes us next. Hey, it's Alvin. We're celebrating Tasty's 5th birthday, and I'm going to be sharing stories about, moments and favorite videos from each of those 5 years. Taking it all the way back to 2015. 5 years ago, my approach to videos pretty much is the same as the way I make food videos today. I just wanted to make recipes that I thought were fun and I thought other people could find fun. From 2015, the one recipe that really stands out to me was the white chocolate magic ball. This idea was inspired by a dessert that was going viral on Instagram, so I set out to recreate it. This one was probably one of my trickiest recipes because I had to find a mold that would make sense. It was a journey to figure out that we needed to use clear plastic ornaments, usually found on Christmas trees. It was really a kind of recreate from scratch moment because there wasn't a lot of information on the actual recipe served at the restaurant. At the time, I wasn't making a lot of desserts, so that was completely new. I'm not like a pastry chef or a chocolatier. Filming the video is also pretty tricky because chocolate melts pretty quickly, and there's like a little window where you have to pour it, but get the right collapse from the chocolate ball. And I'm pretty sure I shot that part like 12 times. A hole is cut into the bottom and you can fill it with whatever you like. I chose brownies and fruit and ice cream. Once that is all plated, a really hot chocolate ganache or sauce is poured on top of the cold white chocolate sphere, and the whole thing melts away kind of like magic. 2016, Tasty was picking up in popularity. Food videos were kind of taking over the internet, and it was a really exciting time. One of my favorite recipes in 2016 was spinach dip mozzarella sticks. I just took two things I love to eat at parties and put them together. So for this recipe, it starts off pretty basic. We're gonna make a normal spinach dip with cream cheese, spinach, all those nice cheeses and seasonings. And the cool part is that this spinach dip has a lot more mozzarella added into the actual dip itself, because after that, the mixture gets spread on a parchment paper, it gets frozen and then cut into rectangular sticks that are then breaded and then fried. And when it fries, the cheese inside that we added before melts so that when it pulls apart, it's almost like a mozzarella stick, but there's also spinach dip. Perfect party food. 2017. One of my favorite recipes this year was the Jiggly fluffy Japanese cheesecake.
It's so fluffy, oh my god!
I actually got the chance to go to Japan with Rie, a fellow Tasty producer. We work with the Tasty Japan team. One popular dish was this Jiggly cheesecake that is probably really well known now, but back then it was like this Instagram viral thing that only a couple of shops were selling. This one is probably my second hardest video on Tasty I've ever made. I made about 15 of these before I actually figured out the correct ratios. Essentially, this recipe is a kind of egg yolk cheesecake batter that is folded into a bunch of egg whites. So in the beginning, it's a lot of egg yolks, it's some cream cheese, milk, sugar, flour, all that nice stuff. And that gets set aside, and what happens next is kind of the core of the cheesecake, which is like a ton of egg whites, because the whole thing, what makes it jiggly is the air that is trapped inside the whipped egg whites when it bakes. So the whole cheesecake is highly dependent on really well whipped egg whites. Once those are done, the main batter gets folded in and it gets poured into a large cake pan that is baked in a water bath for a very, very, very long time. It's essentially a giant souffle cake. This recipe, I think, is pretty satisfying in a lot of different ways. You have the peeling of the paper, you have the way it jiggles when you set it down and kind of wobbles around a bit, and then the powdered sugar on top. And overall, it just looks very aesthetically pleasing, which is why I think it's very popular. And it also tastes pretty awesome too. 2018. At this point, Tasty is expanding. We're trying a lot of different things. We're trying shows. We have a lot of longer form content on YouTube, and it was a great time to just try a lot of cool things. I've always had a fascination for really visual foods, so I decided to make a giant version of a burger. Came down to really figuring out how to make a giant bun, a giant slice of cheese, how to make two giant patties, the lettuce and the tomatoes. So for me, it was almost like this fun architecture experiment and seeing, you know, what recipes were out there, but how would that look like if I multiplied it by 10 or 20. So it was a cool process to go through where I literally had to figure out what the biggest pan I had was, how big the oven was, what the cook times were, and the different solves that you deal with when food is that large. And I think that was the biggest challenge, but also the most fun part of the experience. So people were into that video, and after that I was lucky enough to be able to produce a whole season of Making It Big, where you go around and make giant versions of people's favorite foods like ramen, chicken nuggets, sushi, pizza. So that was a really fun time. 2019. I was experimenting a lot more with different kinds of videos. I wanted to showcase a lot of chefs instead of doing everything, all the cooking myself. So I went out and shot a lot of videos that were almost documentary inspired with a lot of chefs. I did a couple ones with a mozzarella master, a Chinese hand-pulled noodle master, a Japanese soba master, and I will probably say my favorite one that I've ever produced was the one with a sushi master. I wanted to showcase what it was like to be one of the elite craftsmen in his field, not just the way he cooks, but also the parts that lead up to it that a lot of people don't see. The most interesting thing is that he is only open for dinner for 16 people every night. That's the maximum, but there's so much work that goes on in the morning, late night, even the day before, that I think was really important to show. Shooting that video was an experience as well. His whole restaurant was essentially like this temple. We made sure not to bump into anything. You know, all the wood was imported from Japan. We had to be very careful with our camera equipment. We didn't want to intrude on his work. We just wanted to sit there, capture everything silently the way he would do it normally. And it was a really cool balance to not only get the chance to film a master like him, but to appreciate his work through the lens of a camera. And 2020. This year we really wanted to show that you can do so much with cooking at home, and this is the first time we really focused on giving glimpses into the actual people behind the camera and the recipes to show how they actually cook at home. I've been a fan of a lot of Korean and Japanese YouTube food creators. They have pioneered this style of a food cinematic vlog that uses subtitles and music and the sounds of cooking to kind of make a video very relaxing. I was really inspired by those videos. I think cooking with 3 ingredients is really fun because there's this challenge of making a dish that people might know, but with way less ingredients. So it automatically makes things more accessible to new cooks who might be trying recipes or cooking for the first time. And it also is easier since you don't have to go grocery shopping for 20 bajillion things. And there's this kind of magic science behind why certain 3 ingredients can come together to create something that usually would take 20. So I like that part of it a lot. In this video, I also took inspiration from a Korean trend, which is the whipped dalgona coffee. I made a fluffy souffle jiggly omelet, again with a lot of Asian influence. I made teriyaki chicken the way I would usually make it for myself to eat on a daily basis. And I made creme brulee, which I used a trick from my friend Rie, who uses melted ice cream, to substitute for all the eggs and the sugar. So it was a fun food pack day, but not that many ingredients. So there you have it. Those are some of my favorite videos from my 5 years at Tasty. Happy birthday, Tasty, and here's to 5 more.
Oh, yes!